UR Hearts.in, the borderlands where the dry, scrubby hills meet razor wire and watchtowers. A human tide tries to cross into the United States under the cover of darkness. Patrol helicopters slice the black sky, their searchlights painting frantic shadows. When the lights sweep across the crowd, panic spreads like wildfire. People scatter, desperate to find cover. Officers move in, and the chaos turns deadly. One man runs farther than the rest. Cornered, already exhausted, he sits down. The moment the officers reach him, he fumbles for something, and a blast rips through the night. An improvised bomb that kills him and several agents, wounding many more. Cut to a suburban shopping mall in Kansas City. Ordinary Saturday shoppers, families with kids, a place pulsing with the mundane. Until a coordinated terror attack detonates inside, turning storefronts into ruin and shoppers into victims. The nation reels. The president addresses the country. Fear is palpable, elections loom, and the administration needs answers and scapegoats. Suddenly the narrative shifts hard toward the southern border. The president declares the attackers came from Mexico, that they entered illegally, and that heightened border security is the only answer. The CIA is put on a war footing. The fragile diplomatic line with Mexico is already strained. The White House demands a decisive response that both protects citizens and gives the public someone to blame. Enter Matt Graver, a hard-edged CIA operative whose methods have always sat uncomfortably close to the edge of law. Matt is told the plan: provoke internecine war between two ruthless cartel bosses, so the cartels cannibalize themselves. Name on the table: Matamoros, an unpredictable, violent kingpin whose enemies don't live long, and his rival Carlos Reyes, a man whose soft spots include one thing: his daughter Isabel. Kidnap Isabel, make it look like Matamoros did it, and the rest will follow. Matt accepts but insists on his own team and his own rules. He will not be shackled by politics or public relations. He recruits Alejandro, a retired specialist living in Colombia whose vendetta against the cartels is personal and absolute. Alejandro is a man who used to be a lawyer before cartel violence hollowed his life out. Now he's a cold professional with a talent for surgical violence and a loyalty to the only thing that still matters to him: the job. Elsewhere in Mexico, Miguel is a kid on the margins, small-time hustler, tattooed and desperate, drifting through other men's violence in search of fixes and quick cash. Hector runs a crew that funnels men and drugs for the cartels. Miguel is drawn to him for a fix and the promise of belonging. Back in Washington, Secretary of Defense James lays out the thinking in a high-level interagency meeting. They can never fully erase the cartels by conventional means. The only way is to watch them tear themselves apart. Matt listens, impatient but focused. He wants the pick, a tight, ruthless team, not a public relations operation. The plan moves fast. Alejandro leads a daring abduction staged to implicate Carlos Reyes. A lawyer is gunned down, his body shredded in the street, and whispers spread that a hit has been ordered by Reyes. Tension spikes. The street's rumor mill works exactly as Matt and his team intend. They strike at Isabel's school. The abduction is clean, violent, and efficient. A convoy of black cars forces a crash. Men in masks snatch Isabel. A lone guard is left alive to send a message. The team leaves a trail of deception designed to point toward Matamoros. They hide Isabel in Texas, staging scenes to make it look like Reyes's rivals are responsible. But nothing in this plan accounts for the messy humanity on the ground. The Mexican police are wary of the CIA, and when Matt's team tries to exfiltrate Isabel across the border toward Mexico, local forces open fire. A firefight rips open in the scrubland, bullets fly, men fall. Panic fractures the operation. In the confusion, Isabel slips free, a terrified girl seizing a chance to run. Matt's team, pinned and outgunned, takes casualties. Alejandro is left injured but alive. Matt orders the remaining men home and delegates the hunt to Alejandro, who's stubborn as he is lethal. Back in Washington, Cynthia, another agency operative with a measured voice of caution, warns Matt the operation has gone south in every sense. Mexico has been outraged. Reports surface that the mall massacre in Kansas City was not a cartel job at all, but carried out by another, shadowy terror group. The president is furious. International fallout threatens to eclipse any tactical win. Matt bristles. He is a man who works in absolutes. Finish the mission, shield the nation by any means. He cannot let a single loose end, particularly one that threatens his reputation, remain. He doubles down. Alejandro, believing in the mission and driven by a cold, personal hunger for revenge, rigs a small beacon inside Isabel's shoe so she can be found if she is still alive. He also changes her appearance and swears to keep her safe, even if that means breaking every rule in the book. The hunt becomes personal and brutal. Miguel, the kid drawn into the violence, is ordered to execute Alejandro. Under threat of his life, he pulls the trigger and Alejandro collapses. But Alejandro survives, wounded and furious. Matt watches from a distance, orchestrating kills when civilians must be protected, ordering targeted strikes when tactical advantage appears. When Matt's team finally bursts onto the scene to take Isabel back, the raid is violent, messy, and effective. Bodies litter the highway, and despite the moral rot at the operation's core, one hard fact remains. Isabel is abducted by the United States. She is their leverage, and soon she will be their protected witness. As the dust settles and the government spins the narrative for the cameras, DEA rescuing Isabel from cartel kidnappers, the truth fractures further. Mexico's police force has been decimated in the crossfire and international censure is rising. Matt returns to Washington, shaken but defiant, while Alejandro, grievously wounded but alive, disappears into the landscape with grief, rage, and a new purpose. The stage is set for fire to meet tinder. A ragged, terrified Isabel wakes in the scrub of a Texas hideout, sewn into a new identity and watched by men whose faces are both protector and threat. She remembers the car, the masks, the sting of betrayal, and the face of the man who knelt to her and spoke softly. Alejandro. He tells her the truth in small doses. He is not her enemy, but he is no savior either. He explains that her father, Carlos Reyes, made enemies who have now been maneuvered into a war. The US government thinks it can manipulate the cartels into destroying each other, but Alejandro has seen how such plans eat people alive. Isabel's past collides with present as flashes of her father's brutality and wealth surface alongside Alejandro's own blood-streaked history. The men who brought her, brutal thugs and desperate recruits, begin to fracture. Their leader, a small-time operator riding the wave of new opportunity, decides to ransom Isabel instead of following the plan. That decision costs lives. A betrayal in the group, a gun turned, and Alejandro nearly dies when a rookie refuses to fire and is executed for hesitation. Miguel, the kid who once wanted out, is forced to pull the trigger on Alejandro. The choice scars him. But he survives and, haunted, chooses a different path. He cannot be what he used to be. The exfiltration across the border turns into a bloodbath. Matt's team watches from a distance, prepared to strike. When the convoy is attacked by local police, a firefight erupts and bodies fall on both sides. In the chaos, Isabel escapes and runs, alone and terrified through the scrub. Matt orders a retreat, furious and ungovernable when his plan flares into failure. He blames politics, he blames caution, he blames anyone but himself. Meanwhile, Alejandro, mortally wounded but relentless, rigs a tracking device and refuses to give up the girl he has come to protect for reasons he barely understands. He knows the mission's true cost is not in cartels destroyed on paper, but in lives ruined forever. He hides Isabel in a remote farmhouse with a mute man and his family who take them in. Alejandro insists on leaving her there while he draws the heat away. Days turn into grief-strung weeks. The media narrative, relentlessly managed, paints the CIA's move as a tactical success and the rescue as heroic. The administration calms the public. But the diplomatic cost is severe. Mexico's government denounces the incursion, families of the slain police demand justice, and international scrutiny grows. Matt cannot let the story end with a messy political settlement. He wants closure, finality, blood where blood is due. The stakes tighten into a razor edge. Months later, the consequences come full circle. Miguel survives the carnage and, hollowed out and tattooed anew by the violence, has become a shell of a man working in a shopping mall under Alejandro's grim tutelage. Alejandro returns to Miguel as a mentor of sorts, molding the boy into something dangerous and controlled. A hitman, a survivor who can do what Miguel once refused. 1 year slips by like a season, scars heal, hair grows back, and the world keeps spinning. The last scene drifts back into the mall's fluorescent light, where Miguel now walks among the crowds, a living reminder that violence doesn't end. It only moves, changes form, and inhabits new bodies. Alejandro watches from a distance, a man reshaped by vengeance and loss, and he declares his intention out loud to Miguel. He will make Miguel into a hunter, not for money, not for loyalty to cartels or governments, but to settle debts that politics never will. The film leaves us with a final chilling question. Who are the real monsters, The cartels whose children die on dirt roads, the governments that manipulate violence with strategic calculus, or the men like Alejandro and Matt who decide, in secret and without accountability, that they know better than the law. The answer is messy and human. Vengeance breeds more vengeance, and the hunt becomes the thing that defines the hunted. The screen fades on Alejandro and Miguel walking away from the mall, both men transformed, the line between protector and predator forever blurred, and the world they thought they could fix left worse than before.